So, hi, and welcome to Conversations with Kerri. Today we are joined by Henrietta MacEwan, who is the director of Change, Please? No,
So
sorry,
it's Driving for Change.
yeah,
Driving
right,
for
okay.
Change. So we're part of the Change Please Foundation.
Right, okay. So I always get muddled up, sorry. So
Don't.
yeah, can you tell me a bit about what that is you do there?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I head up the Driving for Change initiative, which is part of the Change Please Foundation. And what we do is we basically have two double-decker buses, one sponsored by HSBC and one sponsored by Colgate. And we take them out into the community. So currently we're in the City of London on a Wednesday with the dental bus, which is the Colgate bus. And then on the Thursday, we're out with the HSBC bus. So really, when you hear the word sponsors, it's phenomenal what HSBC and Colgate have done, to sponsor us in designing these buses, having them fitted out. I mean, we've got a full-blown dental suite upstairs on the Colgate bus, which when you look at a bus, you sometimes think, how on earth can you get that in? Like I still go upstairs on buses and I'm still like, really? Did
How
we
have we
get
done
all of that
this?
in? Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, quite a new initiative as well, isn't it? It's only since, is it last December that it launched
Yep.
properly?
You're right. You're absolutely right. So yeah, we spent obviously COVID didn't help and lockdown. So it really is the brainchild of Jamal, who is the CEO of Change Please, and he's a real entrepreneur and he wants to make a change. He wants that. This is the whole thing behind the Change Please Foundation, is that the profits that we make from the coffee go into making a change. And we do it with at the foundation with homeless people who want to get back on track again, get back into work. They start training as baristas. We help them with housing. We help them with getting on their universal credit as well initially. And then we help them get into employment, with us at Change Please, and running some of the, stands and everything else that we have, and the little coffee trucks. So it's just it's a really holistic kind of 360 way of everything.
Yeah, me personally, when I hear you talk about it, I'm like, I'm so excited for this thing, because like when I was homeless back in the 90s, there was this little bus that used to park up outside the crypt at St Martin's
Oh
opposite
yeah.
Trafalgar Square, and it was
Yeah.
called the Jesus Army bus, and it was all painted up rainbow colours. And it was amazing. You had like a little bit at the bottom at the back where you could get some like cooked chicken and rice, and there'd be like a little bit you could
Amazing.
sit upstairs and everybody would sit up there and just chat. But it was a very Christian run thing, and
Mm,
it was
mm.
sometimes it could feel like you're being brainwashed a little bit. So
Yeah.
it kind of fizzled out for them, and then they just disappeared one day. And over the years, I mean, I was going on that bus when I was 13, 14. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was like free chicken and rice and fellowship, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was such a shame that when I was like deep in homelessness, it was gone. It was nowhere to be seen. There was nowhere to just go and relax, and it was, but then when I found out there was these buses coming along, I mean, first buses for homeless and now
Yeah.
Driving for Change, I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, it's like they know what they're doing now, because it's accessible no matter where you go, isn't it? It's like you could
Mm.
get in the bus one day and say, right, well,
Yeah.
we're going to go to Stratford and we're going to work with the homeless
Yeah.
there today, and there's no grounding in it, is there? So I think
No.
it's logic. It makes perfect sense to just get loads of buses that are no longer being used and just do them up and do this with them, isn't it? So
That's the
yeah,
thing. And I think also, we were, as you say, we were going to drive around and be in certain places. The only issue, it's not really an issue, but the thing with doing that is that we have to check with the councils, that we can go in. Kerri, you know what it's like. It's changed so much over the years. Everybody has cracked down on, I'm going to be really blunt and say homeless migration from, borough to borough. One borough can give out food, one borough can't. Clothing's not allowed. This can't happen. That can't happen. And realistically, at the end of the day, I'm like, well, okay, but then how do we stop this? and it works by everybody working together. So with us, we work with the City of London, we're working with Hackney Council, who have been phenomenal, same as City of London. They just, from their side, it's the healthcare needs. So the fact that we've got a nurse on board who can do blood pressure, who can really check something. I mean, one very quick story is that we had a guy that came to see us in Hackney. He'd hurt his arm, he'd fallen and hurt his arm. Came in to see the nurse. The nurse was like, don't like the look of it. We're going to phone the hospital, get you in and go and see them. And he came back and he'd actually fractured it. So he was able to be in a cast, but he knew that he could come and follow up with the nurse on the bus because we would be there every Thursday. And that's the other thing is, you know, it's trust. So many people say they're going to do something and help, and then they're not there, or they can't turn up for some reason, and then you lose total trust with everybody, you know.
Exactly. It's about consistency. It's like with children, you know, and like I say all the time, homeless people are still children. They're someone's child, aren't they? You know, and they've been let down time and time and time again. So when a service goes and lets them down and isn't there for them, they think, well, do you know what? See you later, and they don't bother going back again. And I mean, I've been in that predicament so many times myself, so I know for a fact that's how it rolls, you know. So, but I think it's great, and hopefully people will start to donate to that, making that a bigger thing as well, you know, getting more buses. And but back on the thing about like smaller communities, they don't work together, do they? You know, and it's a case of all of the smaller communities that are not working together, the homeless people that are not getting help there, they're just going to the centre of London anyway and making it worse in the centre of London. So it kind of defeats the object of not letting them little services help the way they need to, doesn't it? So,
I mean, looking at the work that I think you met, so Henrik at CEO Sleep Out, because again, you know, both you and I know the amazing work that CEO Sleep Out does. And when I look at, I went up and volunteered with Charity Begins at Home up in Charing Cross a couple of weeks ago, and I just stood there, and you know what, we handed out 250 meals, 250, Kerri, in the middle of, you know, Charing Cross, Agar Road, you know, the one that's by the Charing Cross police station where everybody kind of congregates.
It's just round the side, yeah.
And I'm standing there going, this is insane. On a Friday.
That's police station.
Yes. And that's actually the same police station that I gave a homeless person first aid, because he got shoved to the floor, an old man on a crutch. I would say, well, we didn't really get his age, but I'd probably say about 70 something. He was knocked unconscious. And I just think, when did we, you know, Kerri, you know, I could go on about this for ages, but I think this thing of, you know, through the whole of coronavirus and everything else, everyone was like, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that. Oh, look, guess what? Everyone thinks A, it's over, and B, we've just gone back to exactly the way we were before.
Those people don't need to be helped anymore, do they? It's the same with Christmas, you know, it's cold weather, let's get them in somewhere, let's get them in. Come January the 3rd, the 4th, it's like, right, rolling shelters are closing now, off you go, back to the streets. There's no aftercare, there's no follow-up or anything like that. And, you know, that's why I do the work I do, to hopefully say, look, come on, man, you need to connect, you need to work together, and we'll see resolution. But it's getting to the people that just don't want to listen, though, isn't it? So
I know.
Right, so I have another question for you. What made you get involved with homelessness?
So that's a very good question, actually. I have to say, for me, I've been in a corporate world. I've been in I've done all of that. I was a PA for many years. So I guess a PA's role is to look after people, sort things out, get solutions to things, don't take no for an answer. And then I wasn't very well, I'm very honest about it, about 6 years ago, with my mental health was not great. So I had to take a step back pretty much from everything. I was introduced to Dan Atkins from Buses for Homeless, who's a great guy, brilliant concept. And Dan and I started doing some work together. And then he kind of said to me, look, why don't you come and help me with Buses for Homeless? You know, so I did. And we launched that on December the 19th, December the 16th, 2019. And then unfortunately, you know, we got our guys on board. We had some amazing people, and it was really that, I think it was about having connection with people, and actually doing something that is aiding and it's helping and it's just making a little bit of a difference in somebody's life. I grew up with a mother who was very much about me being compassionate, about being caring, about being polite, about having manners. And she took me to like riding with the disabled. She was an aromatherapist, so she used to take me into the homes for the elderly, because she's always said touch is a very important thing, you know, and it's actually making somebody feel like somebody's listening. And, you know, I think that's something that a lot of homeless get frustrated about, is nobody listens. Everyone walks past, throws a sandwich down or throws some cash down, but nobody actually sits for 5 minutes and has a chat. And I think that for me is the biggest thing. And obviously with Buses for Homeless, you know, we did that. We had a program where we worked with you know, the homeless who stayed with us. And again, it wasn't easy, but you know, we and with lockdown happening, we locked down in March 2020, so that kind of nailed it for us, really, which was tough.
It's a shame. I mean, it is a shame because I heard they've been moved from the spot now as well, the buses, haven't they? They didn't get the extra. I mean, that's how we got connected, actually, through Buses for Homeless, wasn't it? So when I done the books for Hope. Now, should we just give BB a little shout out, because he was really inspired to write his own story and overcome, wasn't he? Because like, because of this connection, I wrote a book about my life, sent you guys at Buses for Homeless a few copies, and now he's inspired to go out and make change.
And he's actually doing it.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about just planting those seeds and watching them flourish, isn't it? It's like, as long as we know that we're doing what we can to even just help a little bit, then that just, it's just amazing, isn't it? Just, just that story itself just makes me feel butterflies and all goosebumps.
And he's doing so well. I mean, BB came to my new house. He helped me, you know, put up blinds, because I'm useless. I can't do anything like that. I'm really bad at home stuff. So BB came over, you know, and I paid him what the going rate is, and you know, he's got work and he's doing bits and pieces, which is fantastic. But then there is the darker side, and as you know, we lost, and a lot of people who are probably listening to this, and I will bang on about it, I don't care, you know, we lost our lovely Gianni last year.
I was just about to mention him next, to be honest. You know, it's because that's what it is with you. That's what draws me to your personality, because it's not just about an obligation or a job. You know, you take these people into your heart, into your life, into you as your family. And people don't realise that's all these people actually want. You know, that's all they've ever wanted, is to feel loved, to feel part of something that's not a feeling of being degraded, you know. And it's like, as you say, it's tragic about Gianni, and it's like, I followed that, bless him. Like, I know he's in a better place now. It breaks my heart to think that lives are still being taken because of that life. But there is a campaign out there at the moment to support others because of, in Gianni's name, it is Gianni. I am saying the name correctly.
Yes, Gianni. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I bought one of Noah Faye's bracelets myself, and it's beautiful. So if you can buy a bracelet from Noah Faye, guys listening, please do. I'll stick a link in the description. All links will be in the description. So, but yeah, it's amazing to see that there are people out there that are doing it from a place of compassion, and not a place of, oh, I want to make myself look good, or I want to do this because, like, for whatever reasons, you know what I mean? So it's just so nice to see.
Yeah,
so
100%. He was a good guy. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot left behind in his memory. And
but you all made it possible, though, so that he could, like, I was telling the kids the story when the bracelet came, you know, and he ended his life happy. And that's the most, you know, I feel like I'm going to cry just thinking about it.
Oh, don't. I am. I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes.
I've lost so many people on the streets, and it's just like,
I know.
You know,
and there's no need for it, Kerri. There's no need, you know. And I think also what I want to get across as well is that, you know, drugs and alcohol are a coping mechanism. They're not always the reason that people are on the streets. And that is something that needs to get across to people, you know, when they look and go, oh, look. And for me, it really irritates me. As you know, I come from Scotland originally, and you know, I hear people going, oh, look at that drunk homeless git, you know, he's Scottish, they all drink. And I'm like, no, hold on a minute, hold on. That's not the case. And I get really frustrated because I'm like, don't tar everybody with the same brush. You don't know that person. And the best story I heard very quickly was from Polly Neat, who's the CEO of Shelter. So we were sitting on a panel with her one day, and she said, you know, she stopped to a man at Oxford Circus. He was just asking people to stop for a minute. And basically, all he wanted was the time. And she stopped and said, you know, how can I help? And he just said, I just want to know the time. So she told him, and he said, I think it was like, he said, you're the 29th person that's just, you know, that has actually stopped. I've had so many people just walking and not stopping. So it just shows you.
Do you know what? I can totally resonate with that story. That, you know, that used to really bog me. It's like, I don't want to know the time, mate. Like, excuse me, I don't want to know the time. Like, because I've been sat here for 7 hours already. I just want to know how much longer I've got to sit in before it's bedtime. Like, do you know what I mean? It's so frustrating. But as you know, that's my mission, to get people to take a look from a different perspective, because
100%.
like, you don't know why that person is so angry. You know, you don't know what's happened to them as a child. You don't know what's happened to them to make them homeless or take drugs or whatever. It's like I posted a blog this morning about there was an article about being warned by a charity about beggars are not always homeless, and I'm like, why do you need to put out as a warning? Why can't you just say charity advises? You know, as soon as you put that warns on there, you're adding stigma. You're putting a bad picture on homeless people and beggars. Yeah, some people get into hostels and they're still begging or whatever, but it's a hard habit to break.
Yeah. Well, especially when you know what you can get. And also, I think this whole thing about warning and trigger warnings and this warning and that warning, I'm like, when did we become like this? Like, we've become to the point that we are so PC that it's getting stupid. Like, it really is getting, for me, I understand, listen, don't get me wrong. You know, the whole LGBTQ community, you know, amazing within homelessness, and they help each other. And that's an area that with our bus, we can, you know, create a safe space for anybody in that community who is worried or concerned. Look, I don't care who you are. You could be pink, purple, green spots. I don't care what race, color, creed you are. I don't. You're human. And exactly. That is what we've forgotten.
And that's what Drop the Label's about. You know, it's about removing the stigma, because you know what? It doesn't matter where we come from. We were all born the same way.
Absolutely.
And all right, we might have different colour hair, we might have different colour skin, different colour eyes, we might be a bit eccentric, we might actually prefer to wear the opposite sex's clothing. Who cares? If we were meant to be the same, we'd have the same fingerprints. Do you know what I mean? We would be born identical. We'd be walking around like flipping robots. What fun would that be? Do you know what I mean? You just see an army of people just marching up and down the street identical, but you don't. It's called individuality for a reason, you know. And that's it, you know. Well, we can't help them because they don't fall into that right category, do they? Because they're gay, or because they're homeless, or because they're addicted. Well, hang on, why don't we remove the categories and just put them all into the one category of human being? It's all that matters, isn't it? You know, we all love the same if we're given that right, but because of these labels and all this stuff that's been put onto it, it's created more. That's what causes the war. You know, it's like I see on LinkedIn, there's this guy, he's a lord or something, and he's always posting stuff, and it seems like he's trying to draw attention to the fact that, like, he says it's about racism, but it's like he's being racist in doing so. And it's like, well, why are you bringing attention to it? The more people bring attention to these things, the more we're going to hyper focus on them, and the more we're going to discriminate and penalise against because of it. And it's not fair. Who am I to judge what you want to do or how you want to live, and vice versa? You know, and it's sugar. I could go on about this for hours. So I
know. You and I are the same. We're like that passionate. I'm just going to pull my curtain across, Kerri, because it's a bit bright. Not that I'm wanting to get rid of the sun at all, but then I can see you. But no, I agree. We could go on about it for hours, and we better not, because I'm sure everyone will be like, what?
No, it. It's all about honesty, man. It's all about honesty.
Right.
Right. So if you had enough money, right, exactly enough money to fix one thing, just one thing, but you had the right amount of money to fix it, what would it be?
Housing.
In
For
what
me,
sense, though?
in the
Sorry,
sense of,
what I meant with that question, I mean within the sector, within the homeless sector. So
yeah,
not as a general whole, like world peace thing, like as a, if you could
no.
change one thing in the homeless sector, what would be the first thing you would spend that money on? The only thing you could spend that money on, what would it be?
It's a really good question, Kerri. I love that. For me, it would be safety for the homeless, I think, more than anything. The stories I've heard and what homeless have witnessed, as in people having petrol poured over them and being set alight, and the death and the untold deaths of people that are homeless. Safety for me is absolutely key. And I guess that would be a place of opening more centres, more places that homeless can come and sleep. They have a room for themselves. You know, somewhere that it's safe, there's security who respect them and understand them. And it's not a case of throwing somebody out because they've had an argument. Look, let's not sugarcoat it. At the end of the day, there are homeless who are violent. There are homeless who have mental health issues, schizophrenia, everything else. I'm not, you know, saying there aren't, but for me, it would have to be somewhere where every night someone who's homeless, and let's be honest, not a lot of people, you know, some homeless want to stay on the streets because it's their community. They don't want to go into homes. They don't want to change. But if they had somewhere to go every night that was safe and secure and they were safe, then that for me would be in every borough that there was a big not necessarily a house, but like a block, or there was something in every single borough that could cater for that, or a village that was, you know, somewhere on land that wasn't being used but could be built and could, you know, be like the cabins where you put people, but just somewhere that the homeless are safe, you know.
Back in 2004, when I was just getting off the streets, there was a hostel in Dean Street, which is now a traveller's backpacker place that is like £12 a night or something. So they've removed the hostel for the homeless that need it and replaced it with a money-making attraction. Look Ahead Victoria is a hostel. The last hostel I lived in, I left there when I was pregnant with the twins in June possibly 2008. And it closed 2 months later, and it's still empty and derelict to this day. And it is right behind Westminster City Council. It is empty. They're arresting people all up and down the street for sleeping rough and vagrancy. Yet there's a hostel there. They closed down years ago. My twins are 13 this year.
And it's never been used.
All of it's like I walked past it the other week when I went down there, and they're just starting to do work on it now, as in like ripping it apart. It's round the corner from Buckingham Palace, so you can understand why they don't want a homeless hostel on the doorstep. But hang on, like it's your problem. You need to solve it properly. You don't just diminish it by passing it to another borough or whatever. You know, you need to fix it.
Absolutely.
But there was untold hostels, untold. There was loads of hostels when I was on the streets. I was getting bounced from one to the next because getting kicked out for whatever reason, they'd moved me to another hostel. So but none of them are there anymore. I think there's 2 hostels left, and that's Ensley Gardens opposite Euston Station. And I'm not sure if I think King George's is still open in Victoria, but they're the only couple that I know that are still open. And it's just like, well, you wonder why there's a rise in rough sleepers, yet you've closed down all the hostels. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them will use the argument of we don't have the staff, we don't, you know, security, etc. Now I get that, I totally get that. But why don't you then, for people that are homeless, give them a job, train them up, give them a job, let them work in that hostel, you know, they understand the situation. And this is where we forget, you know, on some places.
So I know their mentality.
I know, but some of them do, you know.
Story.
Yeah.
Parliament. Second time I was in Parliament, full house. and there's a lord sat there right at the front, and he said, well, can't we just move them? Because they don't want to help. They want to move them on so they ain't got to bother and deal with it themselves. That's why nothing's getting done. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, they're not bothered. They don't care. They just don't want it on their doorstep. So,
yeah, that's always going to be our issue on that one.
Yeah. So back to what you're doing now.
Yes.
What can people do to help?
So people can go and donate on our website. So if you go to changeplease.org, and then in there you'll see a link to the foundation. So you can click that link and you can go and donate to the foundation. If anyone would like to sponsor our third bus, which will be targeting on mental health and women, not in that same sentence, but mental health. And then we also want to work with women. So that's everything from women who are potentially on the streets, and Kerri, as we know, that's a lower portion than men, because the last place that women want to end up, and as you know yourself, is on the street. And these days they're it's the last place after sofa surfing, etc., from a lot of the research and work that I've done with a lot of women's hostels and stuff. But there's also sex workers that need to be looked after too, let's be honest.
And it's nice to know for women that they've got somewhere to come for personal hygiene reasons,
100%,
and support in some sort of female gender support areas. It's good to
100%.
Because I don't like the fact that when services, they say, oh, it's more for women or men or whatever. I think no life should be on the streets, regardless of what sexuality.
You can be trans, you can be whatever you want to be. If you relate to yourself as a woman, that's fine. Come on our bus.
I think it should be non-binary, about services, but at the same time, as having been a homeless woman, I know that it is important that there is something there that is private, because women like to be private about certain things, so so guys, if you can donate, because we want money for that third bus, because there's so many people that need it. So and tell me about the coffee though. Tell me about what that's about.
So with Change Please Coffee, so you'll find it. Obviously, we've got our little, we've got Timber Lodge, which we've just opened up near Stratford. So that's opened, and we've got some of the AMT coffee sites that you see in train stations. We've taken some of those over as well. So you'll see the Change Please Coffee. Awesome. So buy a Change Please Coffee, because if you do, you're then going to be helping change somebody's life. So you'll be donating towards that through buying Change Please Coffee. So you can also find Change Please Coffee, I think, if I'm right, Sainsbury's and Waitrose, but I will recheck that. And our coffee brand is amazing, and you see it on the back of our buses as well. We've got the whole branding there, which is fantastic.
100% of the profits, 100%, not 98, not 99.9, but 100% of them profits are going to helping the homeless.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for, people? Do you know what? You can buy the bags of the coffee though, can't you, to put in the coffee machine? And I was like, I wish they did pods, because I've got a Tassimo. If I had the pods, I've been buying it all day long, I swear.
I'll speak to them and find out. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure it's along the line somewhere, but do you know what, Kerri, I'll check with you for you.
Yeah, it has to be compatible with Tassimo though, because I will buy them all day long. I will literally bankroll Change for Please with the amount of coffee I buy.
That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I'll check for you.
Oh, fab. So there is something else you do as well, and it's how we're actually connected properly now, isn't it? Yes. So tell me a bit about that.
So I do all the business development for CEO Sleep. Well, business partnerships. I don't like to call it development. It's a bit old fashioned. But I, again, very lucky that I met Bianca through Buses for Homeless and through Dan. And we are, as you know, birthday twins, and we're the same age, same day, although she's New Zealander, so she's like a day ahead. Yeah, we are very much. But we think very much alike, and we're both very driven in the way we want to go with things. So this year, we will be launching Edinburgh. That's my big one that I want to do. So we will launch Edinburgh. I want to absolutely ace London again and go above what we raised,
definitely, yeah.
which was just, I mean, to get that in. I mean, to think that we only had 6 months because of coming out of COVID. And we only had 6 months. I mean, that total was incredible. You know, it's beaten every other target total that they've had. So I was
there was some incredible people there as well, though. And I know a couple of them are coming back this year. So I'm quite pleased that we're going to see them again this year.
Definitely are.
Yeah,
they definitely are. But again, that's reaching out to my old network, you know, and getting them to come on board. And they are people who, you know, want to be a part of this. And know that I don't put my all into anything that I don't put myself fully behind. But Scotland will be very interesting because the network's up there. There's already a big homelessness network up there. But you know, we're going to go and try that, so everyone can keep their eyes peeled for that, which will be great. I've already had people in London saying we will come and do Scotland as well, which is phenomenal. Wow. Yeah, which is great. And we've just got, you know, there's lots going on, you know, Kerri's, you know, we're expanding out a lot more. We've got Wales, we've got Leeds Castle in Kent, we've got all of that. So there's so many opportunities coming up with CEO Sleep Out. But I love the work that we do. I also love the fact that it literally is just us. You know, it's literally you, me, Joe, and B, and the Bianca.
Dream team.
The dream team. There are 4 women running this, and we make it happen. You know.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I haven't even been here a month with you guys. I mean, obviously, I've done the talking and stuff, so I've been working with you guys, but I haven't been a colleague of you guys, and it's just been so fun. Every day we're having a bit of banter in the group chat, and it's just, we just seem to buzz each other up, and we're just smashing it. And that's what it's all about. It's about behind the scenes, what you're getting up to, creating ripple effect that is going to make people jump on board, support, sleep out, and just even by sleeping out for one night, isn't it? It's not about, you know, what I love about it, you know, when we're stood there by the rapid relief van in the morning and we're getting our bacon sarnies and stuff, and you're chatting to people and you just see that the look in their eye has completely changed. You know, they're talking to you, and their passion towards doing something more now is just so much, it's like edified 100%, you know, and that's what it's all about, making sure that people are then leaving us and going out there and thinking, right, now what can I do to change this? And even since a couple of the events, like people have even messaged me personally and said, look, I've seen this homeless person, I've done this, blah blah blah, and it's like, well, that's what it's all about. Just keep doing that. And like we were talking about earlier, you were saying about the touch for the elderly. It's the same for anyone. Everybody needs human touch, don't they? Do you know, there's a guy I met outside Victoria Station at Christmas when I dropped the kids off, and he was such a lovely guy. He was on spice, and he admitted that to me. He was in a really bad way, and I just said to him, "Oh, mate, can I give you a hug?" And I gave him a hug, and he turned around and said, "Oh, do you know what? That's the best thing." And he said, "You've just made my year." And I was like, "Oh, bless." And I told him to go to Passage for Christmas Day and stuff. And that's what it is. It's like 9 times out of 10, if I see a homeless person, I will give them a hug, and I'll give them money most likely, or a couple of ciggies. I don't care. They're not infectious, mate. I'm just as infectious, if not more, you know, because like...
I know.
Yeah.
And so, this is what I think, this is what we all forget. You know, look, we've all gone I'm not going to lie, we've all gone a couple of days without a shower when we're not well, or, you know, when we're slobbing around. Now,
into the gym.
Yeah. And I just feel that giving a hug is a natural thing for me anyway. It is same as you have empathy, and it's just to give someone a hug and say, you know what, it's all right, you can get through this, you can do it, you can do this. And it's like, you know, there's a guy that I always used to see when I was working in Soho, and he was selling the big issue and the most beautiful Alsatian dog. It was long before I got Bun, and I remember one morning he was standing and he was like hopping from foot to foot. And I was like, "You're cold, aren't you?" And he's like, no. I said, "You're cold." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm bloody frozen." I went, "Hold on a minute." Ran back into Pret, because he had everyone gave him coffees. Everyone was brilliant. Always got him lunch, sandwiches, and everything else. And I got some cardboard. and I put it underneath his feet. And he was like, what's that for? And I said, it'll insulate you against the pavement. It's really, so that'll help. And he said, do you know what? He went, I totally forgot that's what I used to do. He said, because I've been somewhere now and I've got this job. He said, I forgot that cardboard. And he was like, and I just gave him a big hug, gave the dog a big, ruffle and a hug, got him dog food and headed off. And then obviously I left working in that area and I never saw him again. But it was just a simple thing to give him cardboard for underneath his feet.
It's just that you're a human being and you are like, we do care about you. That's all that they need to know, is that someone actually cares about them. Just for, even if it is just for 60 seconds, it's enough to last the whole day, So,
and they bed down with that nice memory in their mind, that somebody actually spent time with them. So my biggest thing to people is, please just give someone 5 minutes. It doesn't even need to be 5 minutes, it can be 2 minutes, whatever you want to give time rather than money, and give a coffee and have an hour over a coffee.
Even the coffee though, do you know what? I used to sit there and my coffees would go cold because I'd have 10 of them sat next to me, because that's instinctively what people do. They're like, oh, well, he's sitting outside Mackie, so I'll go get my Big Mac. And then you sat there with 10 Big Macs, and that's great. The thought is amazing, but it's just, it's a lot. And 9 times out of 10 is probably going to get wasted because they've got too much of it, so just bear that in mind, not always are they going to be hungry, because they do get fed quite a lot when they're sitting outside a restaurant, believe it or not.
No, exactly. And I think that's the thing, ask. But like you're saying, Kerri, ask what somebody wants. Don't just presume, don't just give. Ask them, like you would ask your mate, do you want something to eat? Do you want something to eat? Do you want something to drink? What do you need?
What do you want? What drink would you like? Rather than going in and getting a Dr. Pepper when they can't even stand Dr. Pepper, it's just that choice, isn't it? It's just going back to that whole nurture effect. When you've got a child and you raising them, you give them the same empathy and understanding and all of that jazz as you would a child,
100%.
Well, it's great to know that you're doing your bit, though. It's just amazing. I love, and I can't believe we weren't even connected on LinkedIn.
I know.
I was like, hey, weren't we already connected? We are on every other thing, but just not LinkedIn. Well, we are now. So,
Kerri, I take my hat off to, and I've said this to you privately, but I am going to say it publicly. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And all of us at CEO Sleep Out and everywhere else is so incredibly proud of you, and keep doing what you're doing, because it's being listened to, so you go and you keep doing it, and you've got our support to help you with whatever you need.
Thank you. No, it's appreciated. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Right. So you've been listening to Conversations with Kerri. I have been joined by the lovely
Henrietta MacEwan.
If you have enjoyed this podcast, please do like and subscribe for future episodes. If you want to support Henrietta, the work she's doing with Change Please, CEO Sleep Out, the links will be in the description, so do check them out. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now. Take care.